From a notch on the Bible Belt and the ancient Appalachian frontier, otherwise known as the Blue Ridge, welcome to the New Earth, the new consciousness, and this anomalous program called Quantum Conscience, where we sift through the clutter and display the truth the way we deserve it, unfiltered, unabated, and uninhibited. Here we are awarded all the raw data so that we can draw our own conclusions about the truth as we see it individually. Gone is the era which the truth is overlooked. Here to stay is the consciousness. Join me as we pierce the veil, explore another realm, and come back enlightened and ever wiser. I am your trail guide, Spencer Cross, and it is no coincidence you are here with me today. We are synchronistically arriving here, at this point, at this time, and there is much to do. There is much to do and much to cover because we are millennia in the dark as we emerge into the light. So let's get caught up and get back to work as we rediscover the works destroyed in the Library of Alexandria. We find these works in the consciousness and the minds of the guests on this program. The past is in the future, and the future is in the past. So it behooves us to pay attention to what is being discovered and uncovered now. I'm only coming on this week to deliver a monologue. It's going to be in the spirit of Independence Day. I'm only coming on to ask a question and shine some light on a concept. Collectively, we've been exposed to enough information over the past couple of years to climb out of the fog of ignorance. We now know to be truth what we only used to suspect. We have been putting forth theories for years that there is another aspect to ourselves that is more than we can see. There are technologies that we are confusing with magic and assume it is all extraterrestrial. I don't think, and I don't believe you think, that ETs are the only ones using these extrasensory technologies. We are being sprayed like insects. Our food supply is being tampered with via genetic modification. Is this really good for us? Look, I don't think for a minute that deep down inside your heart, your conscience, that you are actually believing that any of this is good for you. But here are a few questions for you that have perplexed me recently. I say they have perplexed me because I have fallen into this conundrum as well. Being a father with a young family, it causes me to both become enraged about our current situation as well as feel helpless while I focus on rearing my family. And here it is. Why are we still putting up with all of this crap? Why are we okay with the FDA slow-walking us into a cage of cyclical unhealth? Why? Why are we okay with repetitive voter fraud at nearly every election without conspicuous outrage? Why? Why are we okay with the White House lying about the circumstances which led to the death of 4 patriots in Benghazi, Libya? Why? Why are we okay with large corporations poisoning us with frankenfood that cause serious disease? Why do we look up in the sky and explain away the obvious spraying as harmless contrails? Why? Why do we separate all of these issues and label the activists that are championing them as right-wing nuts, bleeding heart liberals, tree huggers, teabaggers, racists, communists, or fascists? Why are we doing that? Why are we labeling them? Each one of these labeled groups have identified a major problem, and they have stood up to try and do something about the problem that they have discovered. We have willfully separated ourselves into groups that focus on a narrow spectrum of issues and decided to ridicule all those outside of our prioritized issues. Instead of looking left and right and pointing the finger of blame at those who do not share our priorities, I would like to suggest we find the source of all the problems. I'll admit I cannot specifically name any one individual person or group of people that is responsible for our perception of separation. However, I can tell you who is not responsible. It is not the tree hugger standing next to the teabagger. It is not the middle-class white working man standing next to the unemployed black single mom. It is not the bleeding heart liberal standing next to the right-wing fascist. It is, however, the responsibility of the system we find ourselves governed by today. We live under a corrupted version of a template that was created by an oppressed nation of refugees that tried to escape tyranny. We were the forefathers, the ancestors, who tried to design a society based on freedom. This freedom has been slowly eroded on many fronts, and we have been lulled to sleep with the lie that only a handful of aristocrats from 200-plus years ago were the architects of our founding documents. But this cannot be any further from the truth. It was today's oppressive government that these seemingly out-of-touch aristocrats foresaw as the inevitability of unchecked power. Look around you and try to imagine what it really means for a society to be governed by only the true intent of we the people. If there is nothing else to be understood when comprehending the founding documents of the United States of America, then please understand that we the people are the true governors of ourselves. Now raise your head and ask yourself, are we being governed by extended versions of ourselves? Or are we accepting a lesser reality that dictates we must find the least destructive sociopath on the ballot to represent us? If you realize that the truth is the latter, then you are awake and might be able to then come to the next logical conclusion, which is that it is once again up to we the people hundreds of years later to solve the problem and thus surgically remove these separatists and replace them with true personal peers. We shall replace them with peers not based on the campaign contributions they can potentially accumulate, but based on the likelihood that the public servant will represent us with integrity, truth, and strength in conscience. If we the people do not take this action today, even under the watchful eye and the oppressive boot of the current hierarchical system and its guardians, who are in office as I say these words, then tomorrow's efforts will be that much more managed and that much more difficult. I weep for the future I see. The next generation coming of age now has many gut-wrenching questions that are getting more and more difficult for me to answer. The most difficult of which is the most poignant. Why did you let this happen when you knew it was happening? What are we to do now that it is too late?